Welcome to Asking for a Friend, the podcast where no career question is off limits and you're never alone in navigating the challenges of work life.
I'm Angie Truitt, and alongside my co host, Millie Hurt, we are here to explore the real life career questions you've been afraid to ask or maybe just didn't know where to start.
From setting boundaries to leveling up, facing discrimination, or bouncing back when things go wrong, we're tapping into the expertise of leaders in affordable housing, HR, and professional development to find real answers, or at least let you know we've all been there.
Your stories are our guide, and together we'll tackle your toughest career moments anonymously and with the support of a community that gets it.
Because let's face it, sometimes the best advice starts with asking for a friend.
And before we begin, the lawyer here has a quick disclaimer. Asking for a friend is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. While we strive to provide helpful insights, listeners should consult with qualified professionals regarding their specific situations. Submitting a question does not create a confidential or advisory relationship.
All
All right.
right. Yeah, we are here to answer another tough question, especially given our current political environment. So, this is a political one. I'm just going to start us off. This is our third podcast for asking for a friend. And again, I'd like to just say thank you to all of our contributors who are taking their time to give us some thoughts and feedback, and they always have great advice. So, our question is, a coworker reported to me in confidence that many people in the office feel comfortable talking about politics in front of her, but the conversations make her very upset. She's on the opposite end of the political spectrum from the vast majority of her coworkers, including all of the company leaders and CEO. At one point, she had to leave her office to get away from the conversation because they were talking in her space. I suggested she email the coworkers who are engaging in the conversation, but she doesn't feel comfortable calling attention to herself. Any advice? Okay. Ding, ding,
Yes,
ding.
yes, we have advice. We have advice. You want me to kick it off?
Let's do it.
Okay. This is professional advice. Response number one. I remember receiving a Slack from a colleague who wanted to know how, in my HR capacity, could I support the minority whose political beliefs did not align with the culture of political beliefs across the organization. Being the political odd one out at work can feel really isolating. While advising your colleague to directly address her coworkers might feel like the natural thing to do, I'd actually suggest a different approach here. When even leadership shares the majority viewpoint, speaking up can feel risky. Plus, confrontation might backfire and make her feel even more singled out. Remember, most companies have policies around political talk at work for good reason. It's not just about comfort, it's about creating an environment where everyone can focus and feel respected regardless of their beliefs. Instead of handling this alone, she should document what's happening and talk to her manager or HR, not as a complaint, but as a request for support in creating a comfortable workplace for everyone. At that point, it becomes leadership's responsibility to address the situation. Beyond this immediate fix, she might want to reflect on some bigger questions. Do I feel valued here? Can I do my best work in this environment? Am I spending more energy managing discomfort than thriving? Good questions. A closing thought. While reflecting on workplace fit is important, so is building resilience. Consider developing skills to navigate difficult workplace dynamics, like joining professional networks with diverse viewpoints, practicing constructive dialogue techniques, or finding a mentor who's successfully navigated similar circumstances. These capabilities will serve her well whether she stays or eventually moves on, making her even more valuable wherever she is. That's great advice.
For sure. Our next response is, that's a tough situation, and I bet your coworker is not alone in this country. It's understandable that they feel uncomfortable given that she's in the minority and where she falls politically in her organization. However, employees should be able to work in an environment where they feel safe, welcomed, respected, and included. First thing I would do is validate her feelings and come up with strategies that protect her sense of belonging and professionalism. She may already feel isolated, and many folks in this country are starting to feel afraid of sharing their political beliefs. Acknowledge her feelings and normalize the discomfort. Let her know that the feeling this way does not mean she's being overly sensitive. This is a natural response when political views clash, particularly in a professional setting and in our current climate. Rather than send an email, I would encourage her to focus on setting some boundaries rather than making it about political beliefs. She could frame a conversation around needing a more focused or less distracting work environment. Good thought. For example, she could say something like, "Hey, I'm trying to focus on a project and the conversation is a bit distracting. Would you mind taking it somewhere else?" This allows her to protect her space without bringing politics into the conversation. Ding, ding, ding. That's a great, I think that's like
I like
a
it.
neutral response. Overall, I suggest she try and approach it as a workplace issue, not a political one. If she's uncomfortable addressing it the next time it happens, she could talk to HR or her supervisor about creating clearer guidelines around political conversations in the office. Many organizations are starting to focus on creating civility in office environments. Oh, this is where we're at now. It's fine. So, if she frames the issue as a matter of professionalism and workplace comfort rather than political alignment, this may help make it less personal and more about maintaining a respectful and distraction free environment. Another response could be saying, "I know people are passionate about what's happening right now, but it's getting a little hard to focus." Again, great ways to like something to say. Like now you have something to say. Can you please move this kind of conversation to the break room or after hours? This can hopefully help her communicate her feelings and hopefully avoid having a debate with colleagues. If she doesn't feel comfortable doing any of these things, then she could also buy some headphones and listen to some relaxing music as an option. And then there's just like yeah. Finally, I would make sure she also notices her own reactions and behaviors related to politics in the workplace. Did she talk about politics before the recent election? Before engaging in any conversations, I would encourage her to take a pause and check her own reactions. Being more self aware is key to maintaining a respectful dialogue, even if others may not be self aware. I think that political tensions are so high right now, and many people are feeling stressed and fearful. Some people may also feel shame or regret about decisions that they've made or positions that they've taken, especially if things have changed. So, if there is even a hint of this going on, then they may just shut down or get defensive. I have learned that political discussions often involve issues that have a level of personal significance to employees. So even a small disagreement can result in an unintended argument. One way to frame it to the CEO is that how they respond and react to a political conversation in the workplace can have implications for productivity, morale, working relationships, and even their overall brand or reputation. Acknowledging that regardless of an individual's political party or beliefs, tensions are running high throughout the community, and many team members may be feeling stress or fear related to the upcoming election. Leaders can respect free speech by telling employees that the organization doesn't want to limit healthy dialogue about social issues, but it does have a vested interest in reducing disruptions at work and maintaining a culture of respect.
That was a lot, but it was great. I
It was.
think that focusing on productivity and ability to focus is the key. It sounds like both of these contributors have latched onto, not really running to complain that someone was saying something you didn't personally agree with or it upset you, but just, hey, I need to focus while I'm here. And so can we work on these conversations not occurring while I'm trying to get my work done? So
Right?
really good advice from both of these. All right, I have more. It's tough because there's a lot of gray area here. My best advice would be to contact your company's HR department and let them know you have a colleague who's struggling with this and you want to support them without disclosing that coworker's identity. Find out if they have a political activity policy or a political expression policy and ask if they could send it out as a refresher or reminder to all staff. Our company has a political activity policy, and as much as it supports staff in their civic engagement, like time off to vote, call your congressional reps, etc., harassment at work, political or otherwise, is not tolerated. If your coworker's concern isn't at the level of harassment, I'd still assert that it's important to maintain a workplace that feels respectful and doesn't interfere with someone's ability to do their job. So, yes, we're back to productivity again. This language is also included in our policy. On the flip side of that, if your coworker is simply experiencing some mild discomfort about the knowledge that she and her colleagues see the world differently, but everyone is being respectful and honoring her boundaries, I might take a different approach. I'd probably ask her if this was an indication that she isn't well aligned with her company and its values, and whether it might be time to consider seeking a new office environment that feels more congruent. She may be substantially happier and more fulfilled in doing so. Having been there myself, sometimes making the leap is the best thing you can do for yourself.
Hmm. And I have another pretty, again, direct one here. Presuming it's bad enough to need a change, as opposed to continuing to opt out, then gradually start telling people you're not comfortable with the discussion. Start with someone who respects you. Hopefully, there will be a change, but if not, at least you've tried something less drastic than going to HR, which is the next step. Or find another job, which might you might want to do regardless. Companies are a reflection of their people, and since it sounds like you're not one of the tribe, maybe maybe there's something more fulfilling elsewhere. So, yeah.
All right. And closing out, let's not pretend it doesn't matter which end of the spectrum this person is coming from. Affordable housing is not politically neutral, but keeping the question vague allows us to remember that there's talking about politics and then there's talking about politics. I can't imagine what ignoring politics altogether would look like in this industry, which is always exposed to political winds. At the same time, constant hand wringing and complaining, whether about chaotic executive orders, kids these days, or bad office coffee, is just tedious. It's fair game to issue a generic, I'm trying hard to stay focused and sane in these crazy times. Can we please talk about something else? No need to send an email. No matter the political orientation, almost everyone can understand that the current news cycle is overwhelming and you need mental space to just do your job.
Bingo, ding, ding, ding. I think that particular response, because of the industry that we're in, is really an important one because often, I think, like they said, affordable housing is it's a bipartisan thing. It wouldn't exist without bipartisan support. And I had an old CEO that, and I'll give him credit, Hal Keller, that often said, we're not the party of the Democrats or the Republicans. We are the party of affordable housing. And maybe right there is just a response in and of itself. But it is really difficult, I think, when we are seeing the things happening currently that are directly impacting our industry. And so I kind of to the point of the last response, it's like I don't know how you could not talk if you consider that politics, then if your funding just got cut, how could you not talk about that? If the folks that you worked with at HUD or something, no longer work there and your deal is now on hold, how could you not talk about that? So there was one of the responses that talked about, well, maybe people are feeling like a little regretful or whatever. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I find it also, I think that some of the phrases that were given, like, I need to focus, this is too stressful, like there's a lot of great potential responses if you do not want to be part of those conversations. But I
Right.
don't think that the answer is, oh, we can't talk about any of this at work because it like directly affects our industry. So I'm sorry to say that, but like not speaking up at all, I personally don't know is an option. That's just
No,
me.
and I think that there's so much great conversation around. Like, and I'll give Mark a shout out. I just posted something that he wrote this week that Novogradac sent out in its newsletter about the sheer number of people affected by some of the actions that are currently being taken. I think engaging in those conversations, like you said, I mean, we work in an industry that's being affected. We have to talk about that. We have to prepare. We have to mitigate any risk that we're facing. We have to have those kind of concrete conversations. I'm not sure where the question poser, I don't know what type of political discussion she was, referencing, right? But, you know, I wouldn't think most people would take issue with, okay, we just got word that this is happening. How are we going to respond? Like how as an organization, how as an industry, like who's working on this for us, what's going on, like sharing the actual, like, okay, we just got to roll up our sleeves and focus on the fact that in housing, we have a very important job to do. There are a lot of people that need what we provide, and so we have to keep our eyes on the prize. And so I think one of the contributors' comments about the news cycle just being overwhelming. I mean, you and I have talked about that, Mill. Like, I just kind of have to shut it down so we can focus on the good that we are doing, and kind of stay in that lane. So I think we got a lot of really great advice though from people about, instead of couching it in the political vocabulary, right? Couch it in terms of productivity. And I'm at work and I really need to focus on my job. So unless those conversations like you brought up directly impact the job I'm doing at my desk right now, let's save those for another time, another place.
Yeah. Or headphones. So,
Yes, yes. Put on some good music. I like the spa thing. I've got one of
yeah.
those like smelly things at my on my desk back there. So I
Yeah.
have a good scent going to make things peaceful. All the things that you need. But
Well,
very, very good question and very good responses again. So thank you, contributors. Thank you, anonymous question poser.
yes. And thank you, Angie Truitt, for having this idea for this podcast.
Thank you, Millie, for jumping on it with me.
All right. Well, we will see you next time. Again, send your questions in. Obviously, none are too off out of the realm of what we're willing to talk about or seek advice for, and we've all been there. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Mel.
mhm.
Bye, everyone.